Do I need more
Uh-oh,
chairs?
evidence.
Hi. Hello, hi.
Hi, Paul. Hi, Mr. Paul. Good. Did you get my email? Good. Good. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I emailed him.
I'm Paul
and
Reeves.
recommended because he had so much trouble
Okay.
last year.
I don't expect anybody to remember
Right.
me. Just as long as they don't call the police on me when I'm walking around everybody's yard.
Okay, you're with
Hi.
First Service?
So did you tell John you were lucky to
No, I
meet?
haven't talked.
Oh,
to him
I'm the
yet.
Reeves
I
construction. I'm the one who
had a
put
busy
all this
day, so
together.
I didn't want to get into a texting.
Oh,
or
yeah.
email.
Because he's probably got nothing
See
to
this?
do, so he
No.
can sit and text
Yeah.
all day. with his son.
Okay, this is a spreadsheet I built
Well,
of
not this weekend.
who I got
think
estimates from.
the following weekend.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
all of their
Okay,
costs and
okay.
the breakdowns
Now,
of it.
now the name is clicking in.
Okay.
Okay, good.
And this is the detail that I went.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just go where you're told, right?
I think we have a long weekend coming up.
Try to compare
that we
apples to
decided
apples
for
as much as
this
possible.
Well, yes, there are a whole bunch of folks that have come from the business world that are used to seeing
The last event before
analysis of competitive
His
bids.
shoulder and
Right.
hip
I'm
replacement.
exactly afraid of.
Things are different.
You know,
Now,
when
they're some of them
Pauline
are here.
had some
They're all in
medical
your pack.
appointment.
I
and
was
we
talking
drove
to
with her.
John about it.
Doctor started talking about
Now,
surgery. John-
I've got 4 of them that are 25 or.
Oh, you should have him tell you that story. It's hilarious.
Yeah, you know.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah, you can reach the chair.
Jackie got me a
Nice to
chair
meet
and
you.
everything.
okay.
I think if we need more,
I'm
we
gonna
can
get to
drag
know
him out of the
everybody.
library. No.
Those are for
Hi.
sale. Did you know that?
Broke up like 3 times last night.
Oh, yeah.
I don't
It's a
know,
beautiful
just-
unit, too.
I just felt this wave of nerves coming.
I still hear some fireworks every so
Oh,
often.
really? I didn't hear them last night.
Yeah.
Pardon me? Insurance.
That's the wiki.
My what?
Insurance committee.
Oh, yeah. I said I
I
would.
don't know.
I told Nancy this morning.
So is she gonna stay on?
Yep, and everybody else wants to stay on.
Yeah, there's institutional knowledge there.
And then Ricardo, I think that's him over in the corner.
Yeah, be back in the back corner, yeah.
Yeah, he's gonna join.
He's a good guy.
He's knowledgeable. You know, when he
Talking about
spoke
him
about
yesterday,
flood insurance.
but I
before,
think I
he
do.
had his information. He got right to the point.
He and I are on the
He's
same
emailed me
page with
before.
insurance.
Mm.
The fact that the levy is certified.
I left some voicemail on his.
Oh, levies
phone,
and
but
broken.
it did not return.
I do have an email from him, I think. Or I've emailed him with him before. I suggested him to the board. So I don't know.
Yes, right, I remember.
Oh, I remember what it is. He was very upset about Williams Flowers. About the letter shot. I think this one doesn't want to be. in there.
It's not my MO.
Betsy, do we have Cheryl yet?
I don't believe so. Let me just check.
She said she might be late too, huh?
Yeah, I don't.
When I was hoping.
Right.
Called in by Zoom last night, so.
Yeah, we saw her last night. She was going to try and join us today, but I don't see her on the participants.
Well, she's got a minute. Time's ticking, Cheryl.
Hmm.
All right, let's begin. We're still waiting for Cheryl, but we do have a quorum. So let's begin the meeting. Welcome, everyone, to the July meeting. Sorry, I'm sitting here kind of funny, but I got an ice bag on my. So bear with me, and I may take a short break sometime during the meeting to go refill my ice. So if you'll indulge me when that time comes, I'd appreciate it. So again, welcome to the meeting. Couple of things. I hope everyone was able to participate in the 4th of July ceremony or celebration, and also the 50-year anniversary celebration, which I thought came off really, really well.
Thank you.
And well, don't thank me.
Well, I was on the committee.
Yeah, the team did wonderfully.
Yes.
So, and we're going to be talking about committee assignments tonight, and the outreach committee has a boatload of applicants, and we're going to take them all. And Marcy's going to run the ship. So you knew it. I already, okay. So anyway, we're going to get to that this evening. One bit of update. We will be starting early next month the preparation of the budget for 2023, which then determines what the annual assessment will be, or the monthly assessment. Given what's been happening with inflation in community-wide, nationwide, and you'll hear tonight in construction costs as well, it's been pretty rampant, which means we're going to have to look at the budget really, really closely. And, we're going to do our best to keep things reasonable, but this is going to be a tough year. And I will add to that the city, I think so far, is expecting that we're going to be billing water to each of us come January. And I have a real problem with that because they have not been coming through with the information that we've needed. So Betsy and I are haranguing them. There's just no way we can actually predict. So hopefully I don't understand why they haven't been sending us information.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
they
at
just
first they
haven't.
said it was going to be monthly reports, and then they said it would be quarterly reports, and we've only gotten 2 since
Yeah.
the whole thing started.
And the first one was useless because it had half the wells weren't measured. So,
Right.
okay. Okay. So, excellent. All right. Before we begin on the first item, I want to remind everyone who's here and those who are on Zoom. How many people do we have on Zoom, Betsy?
I think we have 10. Is that
Okay.
where we're at? Oh, 14.
Okay.
14.
There are multiple opportunities for you to speak tonight. We have 2 homeowner forums where you can bring up anything. If it's not on the agenda, we can't act on it, of course, but you have that opportunity. And then also during the schedule items on the agenda, if anyone would like to speak on those items, you're welcome to do that as well. I only ask that you keep your comments concise and brief and stay under 3 minutes. We have a long agenda tonight, and frankly, I don't want to get home at midnight. Nobody thought that was funny, did they? Okay. All right. Okay. The first order of business, proposal for phase 1 siding, fencing, and painting. As most of you know, the association is responsible for maintaining and repairing and updating our wood siding on all of our units, as well as the fencing, as well as the roofing. We used to be on a 6-year cycle. We've recently changed to an 8-year cycle. And we are 8 years past the last time we did it. So what we are asking the board tonight is to award contracts for the phase 1 siding and painting. So this would be siding repair, painting, and fence repair. We have with us tonight Paul Reeves as a guest. We hired Paul 2.5 months ago to be our construction manager in the hopes that we would be able to get more competition than we have in the past. I think we will hear tonight that we have. And Betsy, at some point, I'd like you to bring up his spreadsheet analysis. And then Paul, if you could give us a few minutes of what you went through to give us what we have, and also I'd appreciate a recommendation for award or awards.
Sure.
So you're
Thank
on.
you, John.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, well, everybody, again, I'm Paul Reeves. I'm your construction manager, construction project manager. And some of you might recognize the name and remember my grandfather or dad here in town building shopping centers and parts of the airport and things like that. Now I am not swinging a hammer anymore. I am just helping with mostly associations, just like yours, take care of construction needs and get projects done. And when we came into this with this phase first, and has everyone seen what was in the packet? And has everyone seen the map that what is actually is phase one?
I don't have that as part of
We
the
don't have the map.
packet.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's Dunbarton Road
yeah, I
or
can,
Circle.
yep, Dunbarton Circle.
So what was done is I was contacted by Betsy and John, and I was given the paperwork and all the documents from the previous phase one. And JWS Construction was hired at about the same time to do a site survey and come up with a list of construction needs that we have for the dry rot repair and for the fence repairs. I then took that and started with the spreadsheet that you see in the packet with the 7 construction companies and the 2 painting contractors that came along. And we did 9 different site walks. You probably saw me out there walking around the yards and up and down the street. And we came through and came up with an accurate materials list, and everybody has seen the news in the last 2 years of what construction materials have done for the variance and pricing. We then went through with a formal request for proposal that was approved by the board, what, 2 months ago?
Yeah, I believe it was in April.
Yeah, so everybody compared apples and apples as much as possible. The 9 bidders that were requested for the proposal, all have experience either working for Nepenthe or First Service or the other association management companies here in the county. And I personally have worked with all but 2.
Which two?
The 2 that I have not. Aspire Painting, he's only 24 years old and he's a new contractor. He's been a contractor for about 20 months. And you'll see his estimate on there. He's done some work for some associations for Action Property Management. He's done good work, but he only has 3 employees.
Hmm.
So in discussing it with him, if you notice on the 1 page, he guessed it would take him 7 months to paint the 54 buildings. I don't honestly think he could,
Yeah,
not in that period of time with his people.
yeah.
But he's also the highest paint bid we had.
Eliminates him.
The other one was CalPro. I've known them and I know the people who work there. Some of their carpenters used to be employees of mine, but I've never actually been on a project with them, in all honesty. But they're so well known in town and have done so many projects, I wouldn't hesitate to hire them if that's
I think they've
chosen.
done a lot in Campus Commons.
probably.
Yeah.
Yep, there's a lot around here. So we went through the process of collecting estimates and we did site walks with a couple of the contractors. I did multiple site walks. I also confirmed with Kelly Moore Paint and who's our paint supplier, and with the company that makes the siding and all our trim, that it is available. In fact, there is enough material currently in Sacramento County to do about 90% of the project. So once a contractor is selected, the wholesaler has said they'll go ahead and reserve that material for us pending the project getting started, which is nice because I've got one project right now, a roofing project we had to stop. And I really wanted to get that 4 buildings done this year and I can't because we simply can't get the roofing material and they don't want to change color and I don't blame them. So if you want to spend the time and go through my 3.5 pages here of all the different detail, I won't bore you to death with it. But I do feel that we have the 7 construction companies and the 2 painting contractors, even though we've never worked with Aspire, and I think you would take too long. Any one of them would work great. Any one of them would provide you with a great job, and they would be done in a calendar time of 10 to 11 months, start to finish, including the paint. My recommendation would be to go with the third column or the fourth column over, Critical Path Construction, who we call CPR, for doing the dry rot repairs, the carpentry work, and the fence repairs. And then as a separate line item, the contractor from the second from the end, Progressive Painting, who has also done a lot of work here for you guys, have them do the painting as a separate project. It would go concurrently. Soon as one building gets done and the fences are repaired, then they would start with the painting, probably 4 buildings at a time doing the painting is what he has requested. So here again, it's your money and it's your decision. But if you wanted to go with those two, which are the 2 lowest costs, the quality of work is excellent. They've done work for you before. Their timeline is good. And I don't see where we would have any problem quality-wise.
So Paul, your recommendation for dry rot and fence is with CPR. Betsy, you've got the cursor there.
Yeah.
He bid separately for painting, but his paint number was greater than Progressive
Yes.
by over $100,000.
Yeah,
So
130,000 difference.
your recommendation here is really to hire 2 contractors,
Yes.
one to do the siding and fencing and one to do the painting.
Yes.
Now, I just want to confirm, everyone who bid this is using the Duratemp siding,
Yes.
not the T111.
No, this is all
Uh,
priced at Duratemp.
Yeah, for those of you who kind of been following this, the T111 siding has really been a problem for us over the years. And the board, in fact, approved changing on some of the repairs that we've made in the last 6 months to the Duratemp siding, which carries a much longer warranty. So I think we're going to be really benefiting from that.
Yeah, the Duratemp does have a longer warranty. I like when all the edges are cut and when they use the semi-gloss material like what you use here, the Kelly Moore exterior semi-gloss, it lasts longer. As a side note that may or may not matter, we can't get Roseburg 10-foot sheets of T111 right now. They're not making it, it's not available. And we, on this project in phase 1, we have about 780 sheets that are 10-foot long.
Okay.
So that would cause a problem.
Well, good
Right,
thing you went with Duratemp.
Questions from the board?
Just one, I guess. I didn't see the individual bids, but for the fences, did it list which fences, like fence by fence, each repair?
Yes.
Because we had a very successful project with our new board member, Cheryl, where we gave her a credit of what we would have spent, and she had her own masonry fence installed. But I don't necessarily want to slow this down, and we should have done a better job, I think, of putting that forward a few months back, and we didn't. Maybe the next phase, we could do that a little bit more. I don't know what your thoughts are, you guys.
Not sure.
Too late.
I'm actually not sure what you're asking.
Well,
actually.
remember with Cheryl, she needed a new fence. and
Yes.
She said, instead of us, the cost of the fence, we put toward her getting the brick one built, and she paid the difference. I was just wondering if there were individual bids where we could see if any homeowners wanted to do that, but we're probably too late.
I don't think it was broken down by location.
Oh, no, it is.
Some of them are the CPR, the critical path reconstruction. His is he did the time to go
Good to know.
by address. He spent
Right.
2.5 days here and then 2 days in his office
Oh, wow.
Wow.
doing.
So actually, I guess what you're saying, and I think there's some merit to this, we should let the owners know, and this is zones 3 and 4, that this is going to be happening. And if they're at all interested in a different approach for a fence, as Cheryl did, as long as we can get the architecture committee to buy off, there would be at least some sort of contribution from the association with the homeowner paying the difference. This has happened once and it was pretty successful.
So should we send out a letter notifying or an email or something notifying all of these addresses?
Yeah, what we've done in the past and what my intention is to have a meeting here for all the homeowners. And they can actually meet the contractors that you select. And they can talk about what to expect when they get to their area. So if masonry fences is something that we want to put on the table for them, we can go over that process. Maybe I can work with, or I don't know, maybe Paul can work with the architectural review committee just to really nail down that fence scope. So it could be a expedited approval process if any of the homeowners in this phase one want to explore a masonry fence. I don't know how much that can throw off the timeline. And I also don't know if CPR would be the person that could build a masonry fence. I don't know if they have that.
I don't believe he would be the person we would select to build a masonry fence,
Right.
but I could tell you that the masonry fence would be built after we were done with all of our wood repairs and the paint
Okay.
and other painting the other fences.
Yeah.
So it's something that would be
Right.
marked, don't touch, and
Yeah.
that they would have to be scheduled, because trying to get a masonry contractor right now on a 60 or 90-day timeline
Mm,
is going to be tough.
Right.
yeah.
Ashley, other questions, Ashley? Marcus?
I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
Some of the fences in that area have recently been replaced and also painted. And are we gonna repaint the fences that just got repainted? Or could we skip those fences and save ourselves some money?
Well, I didn't see that many that had been recently painted that didn't need another coat. Do we have an address list? We do?
We do. His house just got redone and what is it? In February, so I mean, I'm just looking at costs, is it cost effective to look into that and maybe not paint the fences that just got replaced?
Well, I know the painting contractor will be excited to not have to do all the fences, because that's really the hard work.
So, I mean, that's something I would like to see, maybe if we could look into that. And the other thing also, landscape as well, there are some areas where we may do some remediation, meaning some of the bushes will be removed. Would it be smarter to have that stuff removed before we do the work, so it's easier access and you guys don't have to cover those bushes? And
Absolutely.
I would like to see if we could investigate or plan a little bit better with the landscape committee together. And the other thing is the cost of the material. Has that been negotiated and that is set in stone, or once we start, are they gonna readjust the pricing of the material?
We actually don't get a fixed price on the material until we deliver a PO to the wholesaler.
But it's a bid
It's,
to,
it's bid at a fixed price. And that fixed price is held for, we've got, what, 2 more weeks on the price that the wholesaler has promised, because they have the material.
Okay.
But if we wait past that, they can come back and change it. And they could come back and change it. The material we're using isn't fluctuating right now, so I don't anticipate that. But we went out and got an accurate count, and it's the sheets of siding that are the question. And the trim in its various widths aren't really the problem. It's the sheets of siding, especially these 9 and 10 footers that are $500 or $480 or $500 a sheet, whatever's written on there.
yeah, we do
Well,
have. the
several
unit.
of the bidders, which is pretty common in a project like this, so this bid is good for 2 weeks or it's good for 30 days. It,
Right.
behooves us to take advantage of that.
Yeah, and some materials,
Mhm.
I get day of estimate. I get a 24-hour lock on price.
Mhm.
Go to the board and make them vote.
Yeah.
Literally, that's what a supplier will tell me. And we don't have any of that here. It's a big enough job and the suppliers want it. So the moment you called me, I was calling suppliers, telling them, hey, this is coming. You need to start hoarding stuff for me, even with paint. There's different paint base colors that Kelly Moore already has sitting over here on 65th and Folsom for us.
Well, I'm really pleased that we had this much interest. We're a big client. It's a big project. And the number of people who showed interest is very encouraging because they wanted the work.
Yes.
Okay.
And,
Marcus?
and most of them have a past history here,
Yeah,
either with you
Absolutely.
directly or with
Yeah.
First Service. So
Yeah.
that's a good sign too. That means they're eager to come back.
yeah. Jackie, any questions?
No, I don't. They've been answered.
Did we ever get Cheryl online?
No, Cheryl's not
Okay.
here.
All right. Well, any other comments from the board? I'd like to take a motion here. All right.
I think it's really good having your help.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Go back to the first page, please, Betsy.
Yeah. And do you want Paul to speak a little bit for the members about like what his role will be as we move
Sure.
on? through the process?
Let me make my motion first and vote on it, and then we'll describe the construction phase. So I would like to move that the association contract with Critical Path Construction for the dry rot and fence work. That's for $822,957.88. And separately contract with Progressive Painting for $306,250. May I have a second?
I second.
Any discussion? Any disagreement? Okay, without objection, this is approved. Thank you. During the construction, Paul will be here. As you can imagine, any kind of work like this, which is some rehabilitation, I would call it, you're always going to run into, pardon my French, but in construction, we call it oh shit moments. And those are going to happen. And so Paul will be here to make sure that we minimize those. We quite likely may have a few change orders, and that's why we have the unit prices in the bids as well. So Paul will be here watching the shop for us.
So, yeah, so I was hired by you and I'm paid by you. So I am your eyes and ears during this project. And to start with, I am available 7 to 7, 7 days a week. I just ask that all requests, if they're spent through an email, please copy Betsy. I really want them to know what's going on and if I've got email traffic going back and forth. And when I do phone calls, I type them out and I send them to Betsy so she knows who is asking me questions and she can follow up and make sure I didn't drop anything or didn't forget anything going
Yeah,
forward.
that's a really good point. Betsy and I need to be in the loop since you've dumped this
Well,
on me.
you're in
Yeah.
So what happens now is I'm gonna go out when on my way up back out to my car. I'm gonna call everybody, these guys, and let them know that start getting things in the queue. In the coming weeks, we are going to have a path of travel confirmed. We have one from CPR. I don't know if you included it or not.
Oh, I didn't know he
Have
gave
it?
us.
Okay, we
It
have a
was-
tentative.
It was an example. It wasn't for this, but it was impressive.
Right.
And
Yeah, he gave an
yeah.
example.
I'm anticipating we will get that also
Yeah.
for this, as well as a schedule.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we're going to come around and you're going to see me start marking up the buildings. The black spray can marks are the wood items that are included in our fixed pace contract. When you see a white spray can mark or a white Sharpie mark, that was something that was not included, but we've now decided will need to be replaced or fixed or changed. And there's a change order coming for it. So that usually takes place about a week before they start on the building, granted weather. So you'll have to look at that stuff. If you see it and somebody asks, what are all these marks? That's what I have going on, because before I have them start a building, we know if there's any change orders and what that cost is going to be. Once they open a building up and start removing siding, so there's some areas where we think we may have more extensive dry rot on the frame or, anywhere else within that wall. I will schedule to where I will be here. I'll go ahead and make sure I come by on those days just to physically see it. We're also pulling permits with the city for all of this. And once a building is removed and the siding is off, that frame will have to be exposed usually overnight for them to be able to schedule a building inspection for the next morning. Then they can put the moisture barrier back on, then they can start putting siding back up. So during the night, they do cover it with plastic, but we do have one night of whatever gets torn down. Looks pretty ugly.
So Betsy, I think while Paul is informing the successful and unsuccessful proposers, I think it's important now to let the folks know in those 171 homes that we're on doing this. I mean, we've announced it in the newsletter and everything else, but oftentimes people don't know that. So we need to, I like your idea, invite them here.
Yep.
Let them know when this is going to start, what it's going to entail, what to expect. And Paul, I'm anticipating that we could at least give homeowners a day or so or more advance notice. We're going to work on your house this week.
So before they start doing the actual construction, I will make sure everybody gets posted at least 7 days out. But since I'm there marking up the walls, I'll make sure the postings are on. And I try to do the markings 2 weeks out, so that gives them a time
Okay,
to do a change order.
Yeah, I think, this in particular is something that people need to be aware that this is happening rather than waking up in the morning to hammers. At least they'll know.
Yeah.
Some of it's inside gates and
Yeah,
things like
yeah,
that. I know
yeah.
mine is.
Well, they hear somebody ripping trim off around the window when they call the police.
Yeah,
This isn't Rancho Cordova, but so I don't anticipate that here, but
okay.
A question regarding painting. I'm assuming they are spray painting garage doors and so on. Are the garage doors, can we cover the inside so the spray paint doesn't go inside and possibly paint my car or so?
you spray painting and getting them on the cars, not likely.
Okay,
I know that this painter has asked me that when they post notices, that if he sees any gaps at all, he's going to ask people to move their cars out to the street.
okay, good, okay.
Most of the weather stripping should take care of that unless your garage doors are
Yeah,
really
it's
open.
not that high pressure, but
Yeah.
some of them have a little gap at
Yeah.
the top, and you
Yeah.
don't want,
Yeah, they'll be using airless sprayer.
what's that?
They'll be using airless sprayer. Yeah, okay, good, okay.
Progressive did the painting in the last cycle for phase 2 and phase 3, and we had not one complaint not one, which is, I think, amazing.
Oh, good, okay, all right. All right, yes, Bill?
Microphone, Bill, microphone. No.
Well, it doesn't do me any good. So I have, my hearing aids are turned up all
Oh,
over.
this is a question to you. A lot of the siding around here actually touches the ground. And it's my understanding that code says that it's supposed to be X number of inches from the ground before the city will sign off on it. Is that going to be a problem for us? Or have you looked at that when you've gone around? Because a lot of the siding at my place and some of the others, the siding comes right down because the dirt has built up to it.
I believe the Duratemp warranty is 3 inches above soil. And the city signs them off, the city doesn't check. So
That'll be for us to monitor.
if so, when the problem is you pull the siding off and it's touching the soil, but that's the top of the footing for the concrete is also there, then I've got to come back in here to the office and with pictures and say, we've got to get the landscaper out here and change this grade. Because I can't short the siding now, because they do want an overlap.
Change order.
Yeah, I think that's going to happen. I know,
We'll have some
Yeah.
spots.
Yeah,
We
it
always do.
happened last time
yeah,
too.
yeah, it did, yeah, okay. All right, Ricardo, yes.
when they inspected the siding, one person came by our unit at 1013 and he didn't have a ladder to go up to the second story. So when this work is done, will they have inspected the higher levels?
When we're doing the work,
Well, no, before you do the work, because it's based
when
on
we're out there,
cost estimate.
yeah, I get up on the walls.
Yeah.
I've got some spots already marked out on those first.
Okay, so they didn't look for it. You looked for it, Paul. For the,
What's that?
you looked for any type of dry rot.
Yeah, when I'm walking around with the construction supervisor, we're checking everything again, just for something that got missed. Something, there's going to be something that got missed. There's just
Sometimes
going
it's
to
not
be.
visual. Sometimes you.
Sometimes it's
feel
not
it.
visual. I have a,
Spongy and put a little knife in it and.
yeah, you'll see me up there with a great big ice pick
Okay.
that I carry with me, poking around, and you'll hear me
Yeah.
thumping on the wall,
It's,
listening for echoes.
Ricardo, it's very scientific. You use an ice pick.
Just make sure the ice pick is pointed in the right direction. as you go down-
Well,
as you
yeah.
go down the ladder.
But it's, you just push, it's just like a sharp screwdriver. You just push against it.
Yeah.
And it's either hard or it's not. But I flip it over, it's got a wooden handle, and I flip it over. And if I see the siding is uneven or got a bow or something's not square, and you tap on it and it's hollow, even if it's solid, there's a problem. So we're either going to try to re-nail it on the site, or sometimes we take them off. If it's a small sheet and it's easy to get to, let's just take it off and see what we got going on.
Thank you.
Sure.
Just one last thing. It seems like we have board meetings, we put in the newsletter and people still say, no one ever told me. Are we going to send a letter or email like specific
Yeah,
to those people? And,
we'll do both.
okay, good.
Any other comments from the audience? All right, Paul, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Welcome aboard again. And let's get her done.
Let's get started.
Okay, all right.
Thanks, Paul.
Okay.
That was great.
Let everybody, you guys all go on. Okay, I'll go get started.
Yep.
We'll get on the phone.
Enjoy your evening.
And then you'll send out, we'll do the notice.
Yeah, I need to obviously talk to the contractors, and we gotta find a date for that meeting, that homeowner meeting.
Well, I got it. Now I can go tell Bill to.
Okay, let's continue. We're already at 6:30. Looking at that midnight completion. Hopefully that's not going to happen. Okay, next item, executive session. We had an executive session meeting actually last night. Cheryl was in Anchorage and was able to Zoom in. So we talked about executive session kind of stuff like delinquencies and homeowner delinquencies and whatnot. So I don't have anything to add to that. Okay. Committee updates. There were no committee meetings in June, in part because I screwed up the schedule with my knee and we didn't have a meeting in June. Sorry. So is there anyone from any of the committees that would like to say anything before we move on?
No, we don't really have them yet.
No, we don't have.
We don't have committees
Yeah,
yet.
okay, all right.
I just have a few questions. Looking at the finance committee minutes. So the solar panel, it sounds like that's on hold, but does it look like it might be a good solution for us? Or I'm of the understanding that a lot of these like good pricing rebates were ended in March. And then the other question is just about the reserve contribution. I know that we talked about it before. If you could just remind me what the root cause was there and just, just review that again for me.
Okay,
I'm here. Hi, everybody. This is Susan Timmer, but I'm just thinking, Betsy, you might be able to answer those questions best, or
Yeah, so I noticed when we got the March financials that the contributions to the reserves were not happening as they normally do. Normally, you all pay your assessments and then our general ledger accountant transfers what we budgeted for reserve contributions over into the reserves. And there were a couple of missed ones, and it was a cash flow issue. Somewhat because of people not paying their dues, some because there was some large expenditures early in the year. The one that really comes to mind right away is the Bailey Boys contract. So the gutter cleaning is a big expense. It happens twice a year, once at the beginning, once at the end, but on the budget, it reads like it's a monthly expense, which it isn't, of course. And since we're a cash basis accounting, we can't show the contribution to the reserves until we actually do it. So that was an item of discussion at our, I guess it was our end of March Finance Committee meeting. And then we had some emails with the controller from First Service. And in April, they really went above and beyond to try and make a double contribution. And they're going to do the same thing in May. Anyway, so that's the idea, is that, you know, if we, since we're cash basis counting, if we don't have the cash, we can't put it where it needs to go.
My understanding, though, we're back
on track.
back on track.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
And with regard to the solar panel, we're still, Betsy is collecting information from other providers or other contractors. As we have only talked to the Tesla people yet, and they were pretty expensive. I mean, you can read all about it in the minutes, because I was pretty thorough in giving details, just so that we'd have a basis for comparison. So that's still in progress.
Okay. Yeah, and I think, Susan, that I got completely confused between Aztec Solar and Tesla, how they presented. So it's going to take you guys some apples to apples work to try to figure this out.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, okay. All right, Susan, was that all you had?
Yes.
Any other committee chairs? Okay, moving right along. Betsy, agenda item 5, reports. This is for you.
Yeah, there's a lot here. Hopefully the board had time to read them all. There was a letter that we got from Securitas that they are charging a temporary fuel surcharge. And that has gone into effect, I guess, July 1. And so just wanted the board to be aware of that. It's $25 a month in addition to what they charge us. And just as a reminder, Securitas doesn't charge a fixed rate every month. They charge based on actual patrols. So our post orders is that they do 3 random patrols in a 24-hour period, and they charge us for the actual time that they're here. And there are times when, if they have to respond to a call somewhere else, they don't make it here and we don't get charged it, which is a good thing. But on the other hand, I think we maybe like to see the service that we want too.
So Betsy, the 2 cars from them that I have seen is a Tesla.
Yes,
And
Prius.
last time I checked, the Tesla does not take any fuel. Plus the Prius, why are they charging us?
Marcus, I can't speak to that. I'm going to let their letter speak for themselves, and maybe the board wants to consider looking at the security contract.
Well, what I would suggest is let them know that this question has come up. We don't think they're using any gasoline. They probably are, but I would tell them, look, you've wanted $25 extra a month. What gives? Can we do that?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Betsy, you want to continue with your report?
I know you have a big agenda tonight, so unless you have any questions, and some of you might have some other questions for me, let me know. Otherwise, I'll let you move on to your agenda.
I'm good. Everybody else good? Okay, all right. Okay, finally, we get to the first homeowner forum. So here's an opportunity for homeowners to address the board with questions or comments. Again, please be concise, courteous, and limit yourself to 3 minutes. So is there anyone in the room who would like to speak to the board? Ricardo?
Try to be quick, but sometimes speaking too fast is not the most efficient way. So number one, at the last, I think it was the annual meeting, I mentioned something about the Stairmaster machine. I don't think very few people use it. It's kind of out of style. It's bad for, difficult on your knees. And what I'd like to suggest to the board, and maybe Betsy can do it, is to perhaps put something in the newsletter that how many people use the Stairmaster machine in the gym, and would there be the possibility, if nobody responds that they use it, would there be the possibility as you formulate future budgets to replace it with a second elliptical machine, which I think is a lot easier on your joints as we all get older. So that was number one. Number two, I'm not going to stay for the whole meeting, but I know you have on your agenda potential work for a surveyor to mark out the boundaries of levy property as compared to homeowners property. And I've been in the levy business for a long time, and just wanted to say a few short things. You should check with the American River Flood Control District. They may have already put in some type of markers where they believe their property easement for the levy is. So it's and the organization that holds the actual property easement is called the Sacramento and San Joaquin Drainage District, which is kind of this obscure district within the state of California that's managed by what's called the Central Valley Flood Protection Board, which used to be known as the Reclamation Board, and it was founded in 1911 to partner with the Corps of Engineers to build 1,600 miles of levees throughout the Central Valley. So we have a real estate branch within state government, Department of Water Resources, and Central Valley Flood Control Board that knows where their easements for the levee plus the maintenance area is. So when you award that contract to a survey company, make sure that they exhaust all the work that the government has already done to lay out those lines. So
I'm anticipating there may be monuments out there, but somebody's going to have to find them.
right, but we could first start with the local maintainers of the levee, which is the American River Flood Control
Sure,
District.
yeah.
So that should be in part of the due diligence. And just for general knowledge for everybody, the state regulations so that the state has permitting authority for any penetrations in the levee from the levee, land side and water side plus 15 feet, but they don't have property rights over all those 15 feet. So it's kind of a case by case basis. And of course, over time, property owners kind of move into that maintenance zone. So it's kind of a complex thing. And I'd be happy to talk to the surveyor or talk to anybody on the board about the intricacies of that. But because we have a levee right along University that borders Nepenthe properties, it's good to know. So
Okay.
thank you.
Thanks, Ricardo.
Great.
Thank you.
I don't think it'll.
Oh, Bill. I would have been disappointed.
Three quick things hopefully tonight. The first one, I've given up on us getting rid of our flood insurance. So you can be happy about that. I've recently watched a Nova special on the polar ice sheets. And maybe in 20, 25 years, we'll be under 4, 5, maybe 20 feet of ocean water here. So maybe we should hang on to our flood insurance. However,
Wait a minute, did you say that?
yeah, well.
Did you
on
hear
the-
that?
It's
But-
recording.
Did you hear
Yes.
that?
But on the other hand, you're talking about next year's dues, getting rid of $60 a month to worthless flood insurance might go a long way. The second issue is the lights. I'd like to report to you that I've talked to NASA, and they've said that they can actually see Nepenthe from the International Space Station. The downside is we can't see the space station because of the light pollution that these terrible lights that we have obliterate the night sky. The one positive from it My wife and I no longer have to turn on a light in our bedroom to read at night because our bedroom is brighter than daylight. We're in the process of spending a bunch of money to put in blackout shades so that we can sleep at night. My third issue is hydrangeas. What is it with this place and hydrangeas? They've just recently done some work on our alley. Looks nice, except they planted some hydrangeas. Hydrangeas take 2 to 3 inches of water a week to survive. We're in a drought. We should not be planting hydrangeas. We should be planting rocks, for crying out loud. Right 150 feet from where they planted the hydrangeas on our alley, these are other hydrangeas, 150 feet away. They're dead. Okay, we're waiting for the 3 that they planted on our alley to die, except somebody is watering them by hand because they're dying. Doesn't Carson have a list of drought tolerant plants, for crying out loud? Hydrangeas are killing us. Now I have one more thing because I'm quick. I urge you guys to walk down University and take a look at the lawn. It's dying. I'm glad it's dying because we're in a drought. Then walk over toward the pool on Elmhurst. The lawn over there looks like a PGA golf tournament because, well, we're watering it every day, sometimes 2 times a day. It's a swamp over there. If you step off of the sidewalk, you'll sink down to your ankles. Why are we watering lawns every day? Now, I know we planted grass over there, which we never should have planted because again,
Okay,
we're in a
Bill,
drought.
Bill, your time is up.
Okay, but we need to start thinking about the drought.
Bill, we are. There is an item on the agenda tonight on this issue. So thanks for your comments.
I think there's some homeowners on this side.
Do we have other homeowners?
So can you go to the microphone, please? Yep, and introduce yourself.
Good evening. My name is Wayne Polk. I live over under the levee. You can't hear me? Is this working?
Get a little closer to the microphone. Just get
Closer.
closer. There you go.
And
I'm sorry, what was your name again, sir?
pardon?
What was your name again?
Wayne Polk.
Polk.
P-A-U-L-K.
Oh, okay, gotcha. All right.
And I've been there 3 years. I moved over from College Greens, and I've been there, you know, a little while. And Paul's my neighbor, and he filled me in on a lot of stuff. There's these 2 vehicles parked right next to me. Is the first or the last, depending on which direction you're coming, apartment complex for the college and whatever. And their parking lot comes right up about maybe 10 feet from my house. And I went over and asked them to trim the trees that are going over the top of my house, and I never got a response. But anyway, they took that fence out and replaced it and did a very nice job. But the person that had those vehicles lived in the vehicles, and he was using that as a bathroom. And so.
Let's see, is this the,
Pardon me?
yeah, we actually have this, on the agenda tonight, actually.
Yeah,
This-
Mr.
Your concern is being addressed tonight in an agenda item later in the meeting.
Okay, so I don't. have-
I'm sure, you may not have known that, that's all.
Well, it went further than that. One day, my daughter was out in the backyard over in
The alley.
Paul's Alley, and he's taking water from my faucet, and she says, "What are you doing?" And he says, "I'm just getting some water." And she says, "That water costs us money." He says, "Oh, I'll pay for it." And she says, "Well, how are you going to pay for it? You're living in a car out in front of on the curb." Well, I went and talked to him, and I said, "I don't want you on this property anymore." I said, "If you want to to live the way you live, take it somewhere else. He did. He moved down by Guy West Bridge and he did the same thing. He had his 2 vehicles, except the city came along and wrote him up for parking extended length of time. Well, I notice now that vehicle is gone. No, he moved it down by the Bank of America into the Commons. And they towed it finally.
Wayne, excuse me, but you're kind of running out of time here. Could you wrap it up, please?
Well, that's it.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay.
I think what Wayne really wanted to say about his property, he needs. to-
Paul,
he needs-
Paul, real
Introduce
He
yourself,
needs
please.
that.
Introduce yourself, please.
Paul Keller. I live over off of University as well in area 7, and we back up to the levee. But anyways, Wayne needs that pathway blocked off to keep, we're getting a lot of transients through there
Mhm.
and they create a mess.
Yeah,
So,
it's right next to that new fence.
that's
Yeah,
right.
I just went through it the other day. It's just zip right over to the levee.
Right, or from the levee down.
Sure, yeah, yeah, okay,
So it's, I mean, you can't stop people from coming in, but that particular pathway hides people.
Yeah.
So we
Okay.
need to get it.
That's the fence that we're
I'm
building.
I'm here also to represent some people in our area. We get together and there's a lot of talk going on. And so as much as we appreciate everything the board does, so don't get me wrong about anything that seems like a complaint, but at the same time, we have, okay, at the same time, we have some issues or things we want to point out and express. On the landscaping work, and there's been quite a bit of it going on in Area 7, we would like to see more communication, but maybe more so for the whole community, that the board somehow puts together something that explains to the greater whole of Nepenthe the ideas behind the re-landscaping, what you're trying to achieve. Because these guys are showing up, trying to do their job, tearing out shrubs. There's no announcement as to when they're coming either. And I think there should be a schedule, just like you talk about on the siding. But also people need to understand what you're trying to do, because some people love those box shrubs. Personally, I'm glad to see them go. I think it modernizes the homes. But the point is communication on both fronts. We also will note that a percentage of the plants going in, as one gentleman was pointing out, are not drought tolerant and look like they're starting to die. But the main thing, they're not going to last, is you have to cut back your watering. So we need to insist that everything is drought tolerant. They also aren't sensitive to whether something is good under a sun or shade. They need to be more sensitive to that issue. Not sure, and this is something I was going to check with Betsy on, who handles the center divide down University, but those trees are dying.
That's the city of Sacramento.
And if there's any influence we can express, that's a great loss if all those trees go. Lastly, I want to talk about the levee. Big issue. Obviously, those of us who live, not just the ones that back up to the levee, but everybody in Area 7, and we see a lot of people coming over from the core of Campus Commons to enjoy the levee. It's a mess back there right now, and I think you're working on it. Obviously, getting our property line defined is very important. But I do think there's a way to define that property line, even if we lay some kind of pavers or something that defines them. And then within that property line, something has to be done, because the shrubs have been ripped out from behind the houses. And so we have nothing but dirt for 12 feet. Then beyond that, we have nothing but weeds going up another 12 feet that I think is property belonging to the HOA. And we're not suggesting that you replant. We understand it's a drought. What we want to do, though, is find some creative ways, maybe some dry beds with rock, like a dry creek look. You do it in other parts of Campus Commons all the time, but something needs to be done creatively behind the homes along the levee. And then lastly, we need to get the landscapers cutting wet grass or is now weeds. They need to trim them down to the same level they do in the rest of campus commons. And it's not that much. It only goes out maybe 12 feet from the trees. But it has a big impact on the psychological aspect of being back there. And as Betsy knows, I've been cited by the city for HOA property, but we'll deal with that on as a separate issue. But, you know, so that's it.
Okay,
Thank you.
great. Thank you, Paul.
Yeah.
Good presentation. Thank you. Other homeowners in the room care to speak?
I do want you to know that the phone number at the bottom, that is Cheryl Nelson. She is
Oh.
here.
Hello, Cheryl.
And Cheryl, I did mute you, but you're welcome to unmute yourself.
All right, is there anyone online that would like to speak? Going, gone. You already blew your 3 minutes. Come on.
No, but
It'd be potentially good to, at a future meeting, to ask someone from the American River Flood Control District. Tim Kerr is the general manager, a guy that I know, to come here and could explain what they could do in that
Mhm.
zone on the land side.
Sure,
So
yeah.
potentially crush rock, gravel. If they don't want to pay for it, maybe the HOA would pay for it, things like
Sure.
that. That would be acceptable. They're not going to allow a creek bed or planting grass or anything like
Yeah.
that. So
Okay,
having them come here is kind of part of
yeah,
their
that's actually good.
responsibility.
That's a great idea.
Let me just respond to him on that. The only spot where we want a creek-looking bed is to weave right behind our patio fences, not out in the middle of the area there. We understand you can't dig there. You got to watch for leaks, you know, and high water years.
Otherwise called boils, right, Ricardo? We don't want boils. Okay. Anyone, I guess we've got no takers online. So homeowner correspondence, Betsy, would you like to just bring these two items up?
Well, the first letter is from Don Pearson, a longtime homeowner at 116 Dunbarton Circle, and is asking the board to consider working with the city to implement some kind of a different organic waste collection. I do understand there have been some HOAs that have been able to negotiate, perhaps not within the city, but with the county. And so he's asking the board if they want to take that on. I don't know. That was-
Any other board members' comments on this?
Well, the only thing I would say is, yeah, I realize it's a problem. I put mine in my garage. I'm, out of space in my garage. But I personally don't like all the plastic bags out in the street on the weekend. So I wish that we had some kind of larger green waste containers. I don't know maybe there's some other solution, but we are also paying $116, I think, a month to Carson at least to pick up those bags. And if people weren't using plastic, I'd feel better about it, but
I
Yeah.
think the issue here is more the food waste.
Yeah, and you can use that container for clippings and stuff in
Absolutely,
your
yeah.
patio. Yeah, that has been confirmed. Whether that's enough to handle all of the
I
owners.
think his issue here is, can we somehow coordinate a community-wide program where everybody's green waste can doesn't necessarily have to get put out because all the waste gets collected, say, by an alley or something? I'm not exactly sure what he had in mind, but it's probably worth exploring. I'm not real clear right now how that would work.
Right. I think he's requesting like a dumpster or something that people can use.
But
Yeah, yeah.
food, the stinkiness.
You know, I talked to our pest guy yesterday. He came to the house the 22nd time to pick up a dead rat. So he said they are very busy right now with places that have those containers out, especially restaurants and other food facilities, and they are hiring more people because it's going to be job security. So my concern would be if we do some sort of outside or several of those sites, we probably could, would attract even more rodents.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm not sure what to do about this, right?
Oh, hi, Cheryl.
Yeah, this is Cheryl. Hi. I'm wondering if it is possible to have a meeting with city and county people about this and discuss. I know that's kind of what you were referring to, Betsy, but if we could talk to them and get their opinions about how to do this, that might take us a step further about what our options are.
Yeah, one of the things I suggested for the board goals too is perhaps, there might be an opportunity for a volunteer or someone that serves as more of a city liaison to deal with issues like this and issues with the police, or attend the city council meetings where we're kept better up to date and not caught off guard when things like this come up.
I can invite somebody from the city to meet with you at your next board meeting.
Let's do that. Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, okay.
Because this is here, no matter what we want to do about
Yeah,
it.
this is a big change. We're all trying to figure out what to do with our organic waste now.
I like that we can request a free 2-gallon organic food scrap pail.
Yeah,
I do think
good luck getting one. I already tried.
Oh, okay.
They're just not available.
I haven't even got my organic waste garbage can yet. Everyone else did. but
You're
I
so
didn't.
lucky, yeah.
Oh, you didn't get yours yet?
No, but I contacted the city and they
Oh.
said they'd have one whenever. But
Let-
I can share with, my neighbors aren't going to accumulate that much either, so I can share with them, which might be a solution for this gentleman.
Sure, yeah.
Because if he doesn't generate that much, maybe as an alley, people
Yeah,
do.
yeah, that's possible. But then you've got to get into the whole billing again, because right now they're going to bill each individual homeowner. So but we can see what the city rep has to say.
I mean, we're going to get billed $10 no matter what,
That's right.
no matter what, as Marcy pointed out to us at the last meeting.
Yeah,
Thank you. Yeah.
yeah, of course.
All
Yeah,
right,
as
second
trash goes
homeowner
down.
correspondence.
Yep,
This is a correspondence regarding the lights
yeah,
that Bill really likes, that NASA really likes.
yeah. Yeah, he makes a number of points. I would imagine the directors read this in their packets. Do they want me to respond to Mr. Whedon? I did talk to our lighting or not our lighting contractor, our electrician, River City Electric, who's been taking care of our lighting and wiring for years. And the owner of that company did not feel that these new bulbs with the 2700 kelvins were going to be a problem for our fixtures, that they
Okay, yeah.
use so little energy that's not going to be an issue.
And I think, this issue has been, and the insurance committee has really tackled this. Is Peter Pelcover?
He's right behind
There
you.
you are.
We spent a lot of
Yeah.
time on this and it's, but haven't we gotten a lot of positive feedback as well?
Yes, we have. yeah.
So
yeah.
I mean, of course, we can't make everyone happy, but especially there's certain spots within our community that are really, really dark. They were too dark.
Let me just say that, and Peter, you may want to say a word or two, but the insurance committee hosted a safety forum
Yeah,
9 months ago.
November, I think.
It was in September.
Oh,
The issue of lighting came up with a lot of other issues. That was the genesis for looking into different lighting. And Peter did all the spade and shovel work. And I don't know if you'd like to add briefly to that, but I think we are well on our way to getting them all replaced.
Yeah, John, driving home last night, I noted that there were still a few lights that were of the brighter bulbs.
Yeah.
So I did a quick turnaround through the association area, found 17, I counted them, that need to be replaced.
Yeah.
But other than that, the rest are there. One additional concern I have that I think the board should be looking at, in my original recommendation, I noted that a lot of the lights were on during the day, as late as 3 o'clock in the afternoon, some at 10 o'clock in the morning. I don't know what that does to our electric bill, but it doesn't make any sense. I know that Betsy contacted River City Lighting and they did a review of our photoelectric cells. And they were okay for a while, but they're not working again. And maybe we ought to consider, instead of photoelectric, an actual timer. You can buy timers. It would require someone to reset them as the seasons change, maybe 2 or 3 times a year. You know, again, I'm not sure that the fact that they're on during the day costs us a lot of electricity, but my mind says maybe it does, and I don't think that should exist.
Well, I think the photocell, if they're working correctly, is the most efficient, rather than having somebody come out and reprogram the timers every 2 or 3 months,
Yeah.
which is what it would take.
Yeah, the issue is usually debris, just blocks the photo cell. And when we get the report, we do have our handyman get up there and clear it off, and that usually takes care of it. But they do from time to time fail. We had one in zone 1 today that it's just dead. It's just a dead photo cell, but they're not very expensive to replace
Okay.
either.
All right. So Peter, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I think we've actually gotten quite a bit of positive feedback.
We have.
Yeah, okay. Okay, consent calendar, item 8.
Me.
Any questions from the board members on the consent calendar?
No.
May I have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
I'll make the motion to approve it.
Marcus has a motion. Anyone second?
I'll second.
Okay, any objection from the board? Cheryl? Without objection.
No
approved.
objection?
Pardon me?
No objection.
No objection. All right. Without objection, consent calendar approved. Okay. There is no unfinished business, but we do have new business to appoint committees and chairs. How do we want to do this, Betsy? Do you want each liaison to talk about this, or do you want to do it, or?
I think really all that's needed is each liaison can make a motion to appoint that committee, who, you know, the names of those committee members and who they are wanting to appoint for chair. Another director can second that, and the vote can happen
Okay.
for each committee, I think. So
Do
we
we
could-
we have to do this on separate motions, or can we do them all together?
I think you probably want, I mean, I got to write these names down. So if Marcus could start, that would be helpful.
Short committee.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
All right.
But put the microphone closer to your mouth.
All right. Since I'm going to be the liaison to the Architectural Review Committee, I would like to nominate Alan Waters as the chair. And we're gonna have Ken Luttrell, Lee Blerkowitz, and Pat Singer, and also Alan Davenport on that committee. Now, I have not been able to contact Alan Davenport at this point, but I will try again tomorrow. And if he accepts, we would like to have him on that committee too.
Okay, I think you just need a second.
Oh, I second.
Jackie.
I'll second.
All right, any objection to the board? Without objection approved. Jackie, would you like to do insurance?
Sure. So Insurance, Legal and Safety, Nancy Arndorfer has agreed to remain as chair of that. And so have the remaining people on the committee, Jerry Dunn, Bill Olmsted, Leslie Art Amal, and Ricardo Pineda is joining the committee.
Great. So motion is in a second.
I will second.
Okay.
Any objections from the board?
Nope.
Without objections, so approved. All right, as I'm leafing through this, Ashley, you have the finance.
Sure.
Want to do that?
I've got the finance committee and Susan is to remain as the chair. And then we've also got Tara Zimmerman, Aubrey Lara, Will Vizard, Peter Polkofer, and Mary Gray.
Okay.
Is there a second on that one?
Yes, I will second. Objections, anyone? So approved. Okay, I have outreach committee, which is really big, Marcy. So I have Pam Livingston, Ed Goldman, Hallie Henley, Bill Olmsted, Bonnie Jacobson, Jerry Gelfand, Joyce Earl, Judy Brewington, Joan Barrett, Nancy Arndorfer, Jan Beal, Teresa McCracken, Carol Duke, and Diana Vizard, with Marcy Best being the chair.
Great.
And I would like to move that that be accepted.
I second.
Any objections?
I'll second.
So approved.
Okay.
Good luck, Marcy.
Fourth of July signs were really cute, by the way.
You told me the bigger the better, so.
A lot of herding cats.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
All right,
so
Cheryl.
we have grounds committee. Cheryl, would you like to go through your recommendations on the grounds committee?
I would. I do not, because I'm remote, I do not have the list of all of the names. I believe that Betsy has them. I do know that the returning members are all staying acceptable to meet and returning to the committee. We're adding 2 new members, Rick Shaw, wait a minute, Jim Shaw and Rick Lawrence. Rick Lawrence. I am suggesting Christina George as the chair, and she is willing to accept that position. We will have 13 people then on the grounds committee, which is pretty much the standard that we've had.
Is that your recommendation, Cheryl?
That's my recommendation, yes.
May I
And
have a
would move
second?
that that
I'll
be
second
accepted.
that.
All right, moved, seconded by Marcus. Any questions, comments from the board? Without objection, approved. Let's see, have we, the elections committee?
Oh, I don't have it on my list. Oops, but that's fine.
I have it on mine.
Thank you.
So this would be Yvonne Del Biagio, Jolene Hecht, Holly Nielsen. I move that we accept those 3 folks for
I second.
elections. Without objection, approved. Okay. All right. Have we? got
We've
through
done
that?
it.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. Consider proposed rule regarding sale of homes. Betsy, could you introduce this? And Marcus, I think you may probably have a comment or two. Or will you?
Yeah, well, this came about when we had, oh, did you want to introduce it, Marcus? Okay. Recently, you had a homeowner do a hearing. This homeowner purchased a unit in Nepenthe and without seeking approval, put in a new door and a new window. And the new window was in a place where a window had never been. And so this is something I know Marcus has been keen on, is that it's really unfortunate because if this flipper sells this house, the new homeowner is going to take possession of it and they are already out of compliance with our architectural guidelines. And so a rule like this, the goal is that any homeowner ready to sell would have an inspection done by the association and they would obtain like a certificate of clean health. Basically, every improvement that they had applied for would be checked and signed off on, that it was done as applied for, and that there were no conditions maybe in the patio where you have maybe a buildup of a planter bed on the siding that would affect the new owner's ability to take care of their home, or possibly a new owner could be cited during, the phase siding and repair, that, hey, you allowed this condition to exist in your patio. The new homeowner didn't know it was a problem when they took possession. So this kind of an inspection and a certificate would give a new owner the assurance that their house is acceptable to the association.
So this was actually drafted by our attorney. We consulted with our attorney, and he is aware of other associations that actually he even represents that have that format as well. So he would, or he's in favor of doing something like this because it potentially protects a seller, a new homeowner, and the homeowners association, Nepenthe, all three of us, or all three really of potential liabilities or costly repairs. So that's why I think we should really implement this.
Betsy, how do you envision we would police this to make sure it happens?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I'm already in the habit of checking on Realtor.com fairly frequently, but again, like there are times when I don't have time to do that. So
ARC.
yeah,
Other HOAs, ARC,
use their committee.
their committee will do that.
So when they request the HOA docs, could this be something like a sheet of, some kind of requirement or notice? There's another service that does our HOA docs, don't they?
No, it is first service. It is first service. And usually the escrow company will submit for obtaining the documents and any, obtain any information about like outstanding assessments or violations that the property has. So I would think that they would provide this. So often it's boilerplated. I mean, Barbara Beto, who was here earlier.
He's right there.
Oh, she's right here in front of me. Yeah. I mean, she came in with her documents after she bought her house, and it was just a giant stack. So if the title officer or the realtors involved in the transaction don't pay attention to it, it could slip through.
Normally it would be through some kind of document through the TDS or, this, but in a home inspection process.
Well, I think this is a great idea to protect the seller, buyer, and the association. But my only question is, how do we make sure that people actually do it?
Yeah.
Well, that's rather simple because she knows which house is being sold.
I do get, whenever documents are ordered, I do get a notification. I do get that. So I suppose that could be my ding ding. I can forward that directly to the chair of the ARC and say, here's one that's for sale. Have you been contacted for an inspection?
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's great. I'm probably
And
gonna.
Betsy,
Yeah.
Betsy,
Yes.
what is our system for keeping track? Do we have it by homeowner unit, a record of all of the things that have been approved? Is that an
Yes.
easily accessible file? Okay.
Yes, we do. Right. We have the same portal that you can log into to submit like a service request also allows, that's where it's basically a big database. So we can store our architectural modifications, work orders, violations, all per unit.
And see, that's another,
Great.
Cheryl, that's another thing. That's why I would like to see this happening. When we bought our house, I had replacement windows upstairs. The original windows were downstairs, which I saw that, but the upstairs windows, I assumed since they were replacement windows that they were actually, I guess, installed with a permit and approved, but there is no history at all of those windows. I had all the windows replaced all at once. So we have all new windows. They're a year old. Alan Waters was very thorough with the application. So, that's another problem that I see. I was assuming we had windows installed that were actually approved. So,
Yeah. And
Right.
homeowners would be
Right.
given the opportunity, let's say, it was your house and you were ready to sell and the architectural review committee said, hey, we see that those are newer windows, but we don't see an application in the file. And it was before your time. You could then apply for the windows that are in place, just at least to update the record so that the association is noting in the file that there is something different, or
All right, is the board inclined to,
you do have one homeowner,
Oh.
and she's on, this is Pat Singer from the
hello,
ARC.
Pat Singer, you must unmute. There you go.
Yeah.
She's gonna be doing Zoom.
As a member of ARC, thank you very much, Marcus. One thing that happened to me, I put a bid on another home, which ended up eventually falling through. What I found though, when I had an inspector look over that house, was that there was a hole in the roof, which would have nothing to do with the current owner. So just be aware that there might be certain things that will fall onto the HOA. And then we have to consider, does that somehow affect the closing of this house? Because now it's 3 parties who need to be involved in getting it fixed. So I just throw that out for consideration.
Pat, we actually do have that. When a home is being sold and either party is doing a pest inspection or even a roof inspection,
It gets
first
submitted.
service, it gets sent to Betsy, and Betsy sends to the realtor a letter of intent. Often stuff does not get fixed
Okay,
right
great.
away, but that letter, will basically certify that we will be responsible and take care of it. Now, the
Great.
good part
Thank
on
you.
this is actually also Betsy will dissect that report and basically highlighting what's our responsibility and what is the homeowner's responsibility, or not covered under the
Right.
HOA. So, I mean, really, it helps.
Yeah, many times they note, they'll notice dry rot on like the man door to the garage, which is the
Okay,
homeowner's.
are we ready to move on this?
Yeah, I just wanted to
have one
point,
question.
Oh, Cheryl's got
I'm
a
sorry.
question.
I wanted to ask, is this also something that will prevent perhaps future HOA liabilities if we spot that windows were put in improperly and that
Yes.
might cause dry
Absolutely.
rot
Yes,
or something else? Will this catch this so that we don't pay for those repairs later?
that's correct.
yeah, I think the intention of this too is to inform the buyer and the seller. But like for my house, for example, the woman put up all this lovely lattice and planted this creeping fig. And when they go to paint, I'm going to have to remove it all and probably get rid of it. It looked very charming, but it's going all over my garage. Yeah, it's these subtle little things that maybe aren't a window too. So someone from ARC can look at it and say, hey, you're gonna have to deal with it, to remove it when we go to paint, and
Okay.
or this is a problem.
Peter, you had,
I just had a question. Who's going to do these inspections?
ARC.
The architectural committee.
So the architectural committee is going to do it?
yes.
Yeah, we have a,
You're adding some extra duties for them. Okay.
yeah,
Sounds
about
like a good idea. I just was curious.
2 to
Right.
5 a month move-in on the move-in report. How many escrows?
It varies, but generally there's, 2 to 4 homes that change hands in a
Bill,
month.
do you have a comment?
So what's the process if you bought a house and the previous owner did a whole bunch of stuff that wasn't approved? You didn't know it. You're now getting ready to sell the house. The architectural committee comes in and says, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, and you're gonna have to spend $20,000 to fix your house.
Right.
Is that what we're getting into here?
Well, we,
Previous owner is long gone.
Oh, yeah,
we-
previous owners.
right.
Yeah.
But that's where we rely on our CCNRs. That is already covered in the CCNRs. We do have what we call a cooperative maintenance agreement, and there will have to be negotiation between the selling owner and the board of directors as to who's going to do what. And that's that. I mean, otherwise what happens? You know, you walk away and there's no, I mean, there has to be some negotiation that occurs
Well,
under the CCNRs.
well, my kid will have to deal with it when he sells the place. okay.
All right, are we prepared to move on this, folks?
Yeah.
May I have a motion to approve this rule?
I move that we approve this rule.
Okay, we have two motions. Who would like the second?
I'll second.
All right, any objection from the board?
No.
Okay, without objection approved. Now, Betsy, this will be published under the 28-day rule.
Right,
Yeah,
and
okay.
that's general delivery, so that means the newsletter, it'll be
Right,
out for
okay,
comment.
yeah.
Yeah,
So everybody will be notified that we've taken this action.
yes.
All right. Item 10C, add storm drain inlet on Dunbarton Circle. Betsy, could you introduce this, please?
I will. I think I will just start with the letter that was received last month. I actually was already in the process of obtaining the bid when this letter for the board came in. And this is a long-standing issue. There is a large redwood tree at 301 Dunbarton Circle. It has lifted up the curb, and where the water would normally flow to the storm drain, which is located just to the right of this picture, the tree roots have lifted up that curb, and there is no other storm drain inlet. And so water from storms, water from everything just sits there and collects. And even when it dries out, it just becomes mud. And people who, and this is the parking side of Dunbarton. So people who park here to visit homeowners that live in this block of homes are navigating a mud slick. And anybody who goes walking on Dunbarton has probably seen this. So, you know, I did request this proposal
So
from,
the scope of work is to install an additional drainage inlet
correct. Yep, it
and
would,
then a connection to the storm drain system
yep,
down the way. 'Cause
Right.
There's like 50 feet of
Ex-
pipe suggested. Yeah. okay.
yep,
All right.
yep.
Okay.
That's.
Comments from the board?
I have a question. I actually know the answer, but I would like to hear the rest of everyone. I asked Betsy yesterday what causes that water standing there, because it hasn't rained for a while, so it should be bone dry right now.
It is.
It is?
It's dry, but it's just,
I went by it today, but you can tell there's been water there because it's all stained,
yeah.
but it is dry today.
So the water, there is no leak from the irrigation system or anything like that that would have to be corrected?
I don't believe there
Okay.
is, but we can certainly
Doesn't-
ask
doesn't
them
appear to
to
be, no.
test
Okay.
it.
All right.
Other questions from the board?
No.
Cheryl, any questions? All
No.
right, may I have a motion to approve this?
I guess I'll move it.
Marcus,
I'll second.
I'm,
Jackie's
I'll
second,
move to
Marcus.
approve it.
All right, any objections? Without objection, so approved. Thank you, Betsy. This needs to get done.
Yeah, I mean, that problem has been there since I started here. I don't know what took me so long to think of another storm drain inlet.
Okay, item 10D, proposal to stake boundary next to levee.
Yeah.
This came up from a discussion. We've had several board meetings with regard to where is our property line? And so that we would know where it is as we discuss with the American River Flood Control District, what we can and cannot do.
Right, there are two proposals received, one from CNA Engineering, it's on the screen. They are offering to stake points on the property line along the levee. They will review the recorded subdivision map, which does show markers from a licensed land surveyor, so hopefully they can find those. But they will compute the stake locations. and mark
I
it.
move that maybe we follow up on Ricardo's recommendations first. Just pause. I don't know if we can, I don't know if maybe it's a trust issue or if we've gone that route before. There's a lot of history with the American River. or-
No, we haven't asked them.
Okay.
So it might, I mean,
Do you want to table this for now?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not, I do believe that we should do something. It's important to figure this out, but if we can save money.
So
Yeah, I
Ricardo,
concur.
Want to be in charge?
Ricardo, do you have a metal detector so you can find the monuments?
And they said when you mentioned, or whoever was it that read the bid, said they were going to look at county maps. There's this also an ARFCD, American River Flood Control District, could also enlighten us. It may be in the state, what we call land and right-of-way records of the Department of Water Resources, which holds the records for the Sacramento San Joaquin Drainage District, which is the property owner for the 1,600-mile levee system, even though these are federal levees.
Well, I think,
So it's a confusing thing.
I think the county assessor, when this property was subdivided, there had to be a subdivision map. I'm sure there are monuments out there that we could identify from the county before we have to run down through DWR. Because this was subdivided in what, 1972?
77, I believe,
77,
for
yeah,
that
okay.
section.
So that's where I would
Yeah,
start.
and well, we do have that subdivision map and I've shared it with various owners that live in Zone 7. And by the map, our property ends very close to the units. But I'm happy to, I mean, if we're going to invite the city to come talk to the board, maybe you want to have Tim Kerr from American River
Yeah,
Flood
let's-
Control District.
Let's do that.
Mhm.
Invite him and kind of air our dirty laundry on all of this and see what kind of guidance he can give us.
Yeah, because many times, I don't want to belabor the point, get people confused, there's the fee owner of the levee and the state, which gives permission to American River Flood Control District, may just have an easement to have the levee and the maintenance area on top of the land. So depending upon where you are in the Central Valley, each case is different. So that's where it gets a little bit funky. So Tim or one of his associates will be able to hopefully clarify that. They've gone through this, I'm sure.
Okay, so for now, Betsy will table this. for now.
Okay.
You guys okay with that? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, item 10E, discuss relocating fences at 1424 and 1443 University. This is certainly, we have some very interested parties here.
Yeah, yeah, and this is something that I looked into as a result of, hearing from the homeowners, especially the owner of 1443. He's been into the office a number of times, talking to Barania and Nirmal and me about people camping, right outside of his fence, especially in this section right over in here. Like, this is just the place, I guess. They do tamper with this light pole. And so this is one solution that I thought of and got proposals for. It doesn't necessarily mean it's the only solution, but I'd like the board to discuss this area.
So for instance, at 1433 is the one in the back, right? That one, yeah.
Correct, right.
So that you're,
Right, this
scroll down to the photo where you were before.
Yes.
So if that fence were extended all the way over to the wooden fence on the left.
Yep.
Would that be an expansion of this owner's backyard?
Yes, it would.
Mhm.
Yeah, it would. It would definitely give them more space in their backyard. We'd also have to relocate the light pole. This is Mr. Polk's house up front, 1425 University, and this is Marty Dyer's house, 1443 University. And they both have fences that could be extended across. And those are the proposals that are in your board packet.
Have we checked with the insurance committee, insurance and safety, to find out if they'd have other suggestions for security there?
No, but that might make a good charge to the committee.
I was just going to suggest maybe also to ARC, maybe ARC and ILS could work on this together. I do believe we actually have other areas in our southern side of or near Howe Avenue that are vulnerable as well. And I think we should look throughout our entire community what other areas we could improve.
I like the solution. And I think we have, like Marcus says, some other nooks and crannies that eventually we'll need to address alongside security when we look at some of the board goals.
So what does the board think about proceeding with this and these two fences?
I'm fine with it, but I'm also fine with tabling it and just seeing what they come up with. But I do think we don't want to wait long for a lot of back and forth.
Yeah, I guess my inclination is to proceed. Marcus, your thoughts?
I'm with Ashley. I would like to table it for now and make this a priority for our committees.
Okay. Jackie?
Okay, let's do that.
Okay, which?
Can we,
Priority, we'll table it and see. what
You
else
can
is-
make a motion to table it and bring it back on a specific agenda. Maybe
Yeah.
if you want
Yes,
to make it on
okay.
the September agenda.
I
All right, may I have
definitely
a
wanted.
motion? May I have
to
a
be-
motion to table this?
Sure. I motion to table it,
I'll make-
but want a timeline on it.
Cheryl, comments?
No, I do think we need to consult with our committees.
All right,
And so we can table it, and I would propose that we do
all
so.
right. So has someone seconded this motion?
I'll second it.
All right. Betsy, call the roll, please.
Okay. Baker,
Nay.
okay. Tangeras,
You mean, yes, I want
yes,
to
on your
stay?
motion. I would
Okay, okay,
imagine
all
it's
right,
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
So
and
John wants to go forward with this
Yes.
as it is? Oh, okay. Oh, gosh,
and-
maybe I'll abstain.
But
Sorry.
you made the motion, so I don't.
Oh, yeah, I did. Okay.
So I think your vote is aye.
all right.
Dasher. Table, okay. Gravitas,
Yes.
okay, table, and Nelson. And
Table.
I vote is to table it until September, and nay vote is to proceed now. Cheryl,
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I'm,
oh, you're cutting out a little bit. So,
am I clear enough? Okay, sorry, my phone. I vote to table it.
okay, thank you.
I
So
vote.
that was 4-1.
Yes,
Okay.
4-1, so the motion carries.
When are we going to revisit this?
September board meeting, is that?
Why September?
It was specific, but I mean,
Why not August?
is that enough time for the committee to form? And I mean, it's up to you. You want
Well,
to put it on?
you know, we've heard pretty clearly from a couple of owners down there that this is a problem. We need to get on this.
Yeah, I'm worried that the back and forth with the
Yeah.
committee schedules, it's gonna just, with that, September is likely, but I am concerned as well.
You know, Betsy, in the interim, would it be possible to put at least a temporary fence right in the front there, right next to 1425 to cut the whole thing off?
Oh, we lost Cheryl and she's coming back in.
Yeah, bring that up.
Yes, I think you could. It would just be, yeah, it would not serve any function except to cross off,
Well,
but
it would eliminate access to that corridor,
right.
at least from the street.
Right,
But-
yeah.
Is there a possibility of a short-term rental of a fence, like a chain link fence to put in like they use on construction sites?
Well, that would still be expensive. Can they
Yeah.
notify you, Betsy, and then have Securitas come out? and
By
hassle
the
them?
time I could get that fence put in, you would have your August meeting.
Yeah.
so-
But what
I-
about Securitas? How,
Yeah.
how much can they do what do they do when you call them and then they go out to a situation like this?
Yeah,
Is there
well,
much they
what
can do?
happens, right, I mean, if they get called on a trespasser, the minute they see the flashlight coming along the ground, they skedaddle, right?
On-
So,
Well,
probably
on
wanna
second
count on
thought, I'm
that.
concerned about liability that if we,
well, I think 1 month tabling it to have a review by your committee, which is charged with safety and security, is you're behaving, in a
They're meeting on Tuesday.
responsible way.
All
yeah.
right, okay, well
And Jackie
then-
can share this whole thing with
Okay,
them.
all right.
Okay. So
So
that's where we're
we have tabled this until the August meeting, but let's make a decision then.
And I'll keep you posted if they have any information sooner so we can move or whatever.
Okay, item 10F, proposal for asphalt seal coats. Betsy, you want to introduce this?
Oh, sorry. I'm,
And I got to tell you, I got a major problem with it.
okay. All right, well, the reserve study had a number of allocations planned for last year for seal coating the private streets and the alleys. And I can bring that.
Bring
bid
that
maybe-
summary
yeah,
table
Let
up.
me bring that up.
That one.
Yeah, yeah. So these are the allocations in the reserves. Some of, I don't know why the reserve study has them all happening at different times. So I collated them into a single
Yeah.
column because for economy of scale, it makes more sense to get one contractor out, for one whole project rather than a little here, a little there. But anyway, those are the allocations. The request for proposal did ask each of the three vendors listed in the three boxes to take the alley list and note repairs that would be needed and note them on their alley list. And they have done that. Obviously, two have only identified a few repairs. Bostic is saying, oh, there's only 5 repairs needed. NorCal is saying 11. NorCal is offering to do the crack fill separately, whereas it's included on the other bids. So that's interesting. But there they are.
Separately,
You
in
see it-
addition to that number they've given us now?
Right.
Ew,
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
all right.
so I didn't add them all up I should have done that, but I was being lazy.
I did.
You did? Okay, so what are they?
So if we took NorCal at 2 coats on the alleys and 2 coats on the streets, with their 11 repairs, that would be 98,804. If we went with Bostic with 2 coats on the alleys, their 5 repairs and 2 coats on the streets, that would be 94,029.
Oh, 49.
029.
Thank you.
And if we went with Bro Asphalt, 2 coats on the alleys, 58 repairs, and 2 coats on the streets, 195,201.
Well, they did work in Serrano, though.
Who did?
Just being sarcastic. I think
Well, the issue I have here,
that is expensive.
Bro, I have some familiarity with them. They're good, they're expensive, but they did a great job identifying where repairs are needed.
That
Was super detailed in there.
was
And
what
I don't know
impressed me.
how Bostic and NorCal are saying 5 and 11.
Well, I think they're trying to buy the job and they'd rather have
They're definitely trying to buy the job.
$100,000 of
Now,
your
the other-
money
the
than to
other
do the
thing that we
job right.
talked about last year, and I continue to feel this way. I'm not sure the streets are ready yet, but the alleys really are.
Yeah.
So my thinking had been, let's do the alleys and hold off on the streets for a while. I don't know what the rest of the board thinks about that.
Did you add up, so if we're only looking at if we do the alleys 2 coats.
And not do
81,
the
it's
streets.
still, I guess we don't know how many repairs we have in the alleys.
See, with Bro, we do.
We have
They
58.
were super detailed. We
Okay.
really don't know from the other two.
Can
Has
we,
anyone walked the areas that have been prescribed or described as needing repairs? Do we concur with their assessment that repairs are needed in those locations?
Well, I've been walking the property for, years, every Friday.
There's tons of
Yeah.
them.
Okay, so the 58, when I saw that number, I thought, wow, how could there be such discrepancy? But it is because the ones are thorough and the other two are just have not been as detailed.
Well, they would just like to
that-
they would like to get your money, and they think if they were thorough, they might not have, that's my opinion. but-
Okay.
I trust John on this. I mean, I think the idea of the alleys is good, but is there a way maybe of clarifying or involving, I don't think he'll have time to do it, but even getting some professional feedback from our project manager on the paint project? I don't know if I don't know. Any suggestions?
I don't know what Paul's familiarity with.
Yeah,
seal
I'm not
coating
sure
is.
I'm not sure this is in,
Different
this
areas
is
of-
not in his wheelhouse, I don't think.
Do the
You know,
alleys include the clubhouse parking lots?
It
Yes,
does.
that's
If
correct,
we
yeah.
go just to the alleys, will that include the clubhouse parking lot?
It does.
It does include the clubhouse parking
Yes.
lot and the horseshoe.
All right. Is
Ricardo?
there a reason that is there a reason why you would choose 1 or 2 coats? Is it sufficient to do 1, or are you always going to need 2?
I do too.
I frankly am not a fan of seal coats in the first place.
Oh, really? Okay.
Well, they're just a Band-Aid, frankly.
Okay. See, I see them like paint on a building.
I know,
like,
yeah.
You wouldn't leave a building unpainted, but.
Well, I'm kind of inclined, we should decide whether we want to do the 1 or 2 coats. I'm inclined to whoever we choose, that we only do the alleys and hold off on the streets for a while.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Ricardo, comment?
I'm not a pavement expert. I know the basics, but I think, and I don't really have an opinion on the alleys, doing the alleys separate from the streets. That may make sense, but I think that perhaps we should have someone to delineate the repair spots independent of the contractors. If they find something new beyond that, then you're all working off the same page, rather than having them identify it and then maybe coming back with change orders.
Well, I think the easier thing to do, since Bro in particular has pretty detailed shown us, they mark them and then we decide whether they need it or not.
Yeah. And that was something
Yeah.
that Dennis Bro offered to do, was to just, if we wanted to shop out his scope, he felt it was really thorough. And he said he'd be happy to meet with anybody from the board, walk them through the area, and understands if the board wants to go out to bid, based on his scope of work also.
Well, it seems like you're borrowing his technical work, but whatever, if he comes
Yeah,
back
it's
to market,
true.
that's maybe give him $500 or something like that.
Well,
for that.
let me suggest this. If we do, Ashley did some intermediate math here too. If we do 2 coats on alleys, I'll budge on that.
Yeah.
And the 50 of repairs, assume that's what's needed. That's 177, 193. And not do the streets. And I would like to move that we do that. May I have a second?
I'll second that.
Cheryl, Jackie,
I'm good.
Ashley,
I guess.
Yeah, the streets are fine.
Want to
All right.
abstain, but I'm not sure.
without objection, so approved. would you let Bro know that we would like them to come out and they have a great list, show us where they are, mark them, and we can decide whether, oh, that doesn't need repair.
Yeah, as part of contract negotiations,
Okay,
yeah.
sure, okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
that
okay,
sounds
all right.
really good. And repairs to be marked before contract is finalized.
You're not a pavement expert, I am. I thought you were leaving. You said you couldn't stay.
He loves it here. He doesn't want to move. He likes it.
We're keeping you engaged, Ricardo.
Okay.
Okay,
Next item.
Item 10G, review request from Custom Care Cleaning.
Right. So they have been the janitors here since before I got here. At one time, it was 5-day-a-week service. The service includes taking care of the clubhouse, the pool decks, the Dunbarton Cabana bathrooms, the party room as needed, the Elmhurst bathrooms, including the gardener's bathroom adjacent to the garage. And they also will wipe off the patio furniture approximately once a week during the summer months.
So your summary
What's
here,
their
back in the detail, it's more specific, but right now we have them for, there you go. We have them for 4 days a week now?
Currently 4 days a week.
Okay, and we're paying
What are those
18.90.
4 days?
$18.90 for 4 days,
Yeah,
and they would like $24.90 for 4 days.
right.
So a $600 increase, is that? did I
Yeah,
have
so
that right?
basically a 30% increase. It is a big jump. And I will say, one of my frustrations with Custom Care, it's not been about the quality of the work. My frustration has been that they don't generally come annually and do cost of living or, so I know, I mean, I'm almost certain that we're paying under what the market is right now. And they just waited so long. Now it's a big hit. Whereas if they'd been more proactive each year, looking at their numbers and coming to the board, it wouldn't be such a big hit.
Comments from the board members?
I would like to make a motion to put this out for a bid to find maybe somebody else.
Anybody like to second that?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded that we put this out to bid.
Any conversation?
Any conversation from board members? Yes.
I would like to know what the current schedule is. What 4 days of the week are they
Wait,
working?
Dawn.
And
Hold on.
Sure.
Cheryl?
Go ahead.
yes, what days of the week are they working? Are they flexible? And what days are they proposing to work? Does that make a difference to how the results, how we rent, how it works for the office?
Well, they have a set schedule. One of the biggest days that I always ask them to come is Friday night. And then they come 2 other days or 3 other days throughout the week, Friday night or Saturday morning, so that for the coffee group or any clubhouse rentals, it's really nice and clean and ready to go. But they are also flexible. So we've had instances where maybe we have a clubhouse rental Saturday and Sunday. And even though the homeowners may leave it in the condition they found it, it's still nice to have Custom Care come in and, really put the sanitary polish on things.
How
So
do you feel about putting this out to bid?
I think it's time. I mean, like I said, this has been a contract that's been
Sure,
here
yeah.
since before I came
Yeah,
along. So
yeah,
I
I'm
think
inclined
it's
to.
probably
Yes, sir.
time.
So one of the things we're paying for is their flexibility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. They are very flexible and they've worked really nicely with us in the light bulb change out project. And Cheryl, you probably can't see this, but Dawn Elwanger is at the mic to speak.
Being involved in commercial
Sorry.
properties and dealing with these situations constantly, it's difficult to change horses. I mean, if they've been with you for a long, long time and you're happy with them, and like Betsy pointed out, okay, now they're paying X and they've jumped 30%, but they haven't done it in years. Someone on the board or Betsy should talk to them and counter them. Say, hey, we're tight. The economy's bad. You guys want 2,400. We're paying you. What are we paying them now? 18. 18. Maybe you split it with them. That's $600. Maybe you say, let's do this. Why don't we go up to 2,150 this year, and then next year we'll jump it up another or whatever. That's what I would do as opposed to putting it out to bid, because you may end up with someone, and I've had this happen, that you're not happy with, and all you can do is just, you kind of
We've done that with the
Yeah, you kind
landscape.
of
It's a big
are
change.
in your own mess. So that would be my suggestion.
Good
I
point.
like Dawn's idea.
Well, somebody can make a motion.
Well, we have a motion on the table on
Can
the,
I revise the motion?
well, let's take a motion. Let's take a vote. The motion was to put it out to bid, and it's been seconded. Would you call the roll, please?
Baker,
Nay.
Tenteris,
I say, I guess it's
It's either yes or no, Ashley.
no, but.
Hold on.
Negotiate with
Let's take the vote first.
Dasher. I know you made the motion, but
I know,
You
think
can
I
vote against your motion.
screwed myself here. I still would like to say yes, put it out for bids. We can always negotiate with them after we get the bids.
So your vote's a
Okay.
yes.
Yes.
okay. Gravitas,
No.
Nelson?
No.
No. Okay, so the motion fails.
So we're going to take Don's advice and try to negotiate a different number. Yeah.
Yeah.
you, Dawn.
Yes, is there?
Very convincing, sir. I know. Yeah. The new guy comes and they miss a bunch of stuff and then they don't show up on time.
So if they say no, what then?
Well, somebody needs to make a motion to appoint one director to perhaps negotiate with.
Dawn.
Well, Dawn-
Do you need a motion to, can't we just assign you to do it?
I can go back and say the board doesn't like this offer and what's
we
your
talk? Yeah.
best offer, or
That's
I
what
can
I would
invite
sug-
them to executive session next.
I don't think that's required. Let's see how they,
Okay.
see how they respond
All
to.
right,
That's
To
it, offer them
account.
half of what they're
Yeah.
looking for.
all right, manager to ask contractor to revisit numbers. Okay,
No, I get it.
Nothing
Okay.
compared to our other
All right.
ones.
oh my goodness.
Almost there.
Like most businesses.
Okay, we have item 10H board goals. We actually had pages and pages and pages of this,
Yeah,
but Betsy has very, I think, accurately and succinctly laid out what the goals the board has expressed for the coming year. I don't know how we want to, how do you want to do this? Do you want to read them?
do you, well, I mean, do you want to just take the first one and decide which items A, B, C, D, E, F you do want to move forward with? And, or maybe start with, are there any you don't want to consider for the year? Like, one of them is continue to develop design guidelines and plant lists. Do you feel like we've done enough, or do you want to continue that way or continue to look at it?
Well, I think, first of all, having too many goals is a bad idea.
Yeah, it's going to be more than you can
We
do.
should have less than 6 or fewer,
Uh-huh,
or we're never going to get them done.
uh-huh.
So we need to decide which ones to proceed with.
I think we should get, well, 1A is, I don't think we should worry about the shrubs at all. I mean, I guess that's to decide whether I think it's the water, and also just, a better way of prioritizing which landscape renovations or water. I feel like the we get homeowner requests, there needs to be a way for a landscaping committee to decide, like, is this an A, B, C, or D, or what kind of level does this need to be addressed? Like, those are my things, I think. I think F is also a good one,
Mhm,
considering inflation.
mhm. Maybe, I mean, maybe everything except D. Would D be the one that you could agree you've kind of done the work on that and you
Well,
have a sense?
We have, but we haven't really memorialized it. I'm still seeing Carson continue their way and planning the same thing. So 1D, yeah, that's kind of the problem. So I guess it would be on the landscaping committee to be more forceful or to be to prioritize what we've already done. I don't know.
Well, it seems to me that we have a new chair for the landscape committee, the grounds
Yeah.
committee. We as a board may want to ask them to look at priorities
Mhm.
again. Previously we were looking at a lot of shrubbery removal. Well, do we want to continue with that?
Mhm.
I think what tops that is water usage,
Mhm.
which would be applying drought-resistant plants that Garth has recommended, looking more carefully at the grass and the lawns. I mean, that would be plenty for us to wrap our arms around.
Yeah, well, and I mean, I can't see anything on that list that isn't good to work on, and maybe the answer is yes, let's have grounds to do all of
And I
that.
just want to say, I hope that there can be a fresh start. I know some work has been done with the 2 areas per zone. I would like to kind of start fresh and see what you guys come up with as far as really integrating what Carson has done with that mapping, with the irrigation, the shrub lawn issues, some of these issues that I think should be prioritized over just alleyway shrubs and that kind of stuff.
Well, somehow we need to, Christina, you're here. We need to sit down with you and provide direction with input from you. So it's just a matter of Cheryl, this is Cheryl's committee. I think rather than having to have a complete open meeting, at least 2 directors should be able to meet.
Mhm.
Ashley, would you like to be the second person?
Yes, I would love to.
Okay, I know this has been
Thank you.
near and dear to
This
your
has been
heart.
my
So
sore spot.
Christina, why don't we arrange for you to meet with Cheryl and Ashley to start developing priorities?
Oh, I turned it off, so you can't.
Cheryl is due back on the 18th, and so we had planned to meet then.
Oh, okay.
And I was thinking to meet with, and Betsy as well, at that time. And so just have an idea as to what the board wants us to do and what direction do you want
Yeah.
us to
I'll be
go.
there.
Okay.
So then I'll be there too if I'm the second. board
Right.
member.
And I believe we set a date of the 19th, the Tuesday, the 19th at 2 p.m.
Yes.
Correct? Yes, right. And
You're-
because
you're-
that way it'll give us an idea as to
Sure, yeah,
how to move
okay.
forward.
You're way ahead of us here. Good work.
Yeah, because otherwise, and also, I mean, the meeting, the grounds meeting will be on the 21st. So, and I believe everybody's back, or the whole crew is back, and with three new members. So I think it'll be good, and just, it's going to be a teamwork, but we need to work with the board.
Sure, okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
All right,
cool.
safety, security.
Yes, and speaking of the villages at Campus Commons, Doug Kelly has emailed me a couple times and he wants to know when you want to meet. He's the president of the Park Court Board.
Then he emailed me and asked me for your phone number and I'm like, it's an HOA clubhouse.
Yes,
and-
not a surprise. So he would really like to collaborate with you. eager to get moving on it. So he's basically like, give me a date, give me a
Yeah,
date.
that's got to be number one. I mean, we should be able to take advantage of this.
Right,
Ashley been beating your head against the wall and not, I know,
right.
maybe we'll
Right.
get off dead center this time.
Yeah, I hope so.
Okay, all right. Anything else under safety and security? I mean, we continue to impress upon owners to lock your doors, new gate locks.
Mhm,
I certainly took that to heart.
mhm.
You can't even get in my house anymore. No, I'm kidding. I can't remember how to get in.
We need to refresh it like every 6 months or so because. new
It's
people
true.
come in
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
it's like-
especially, and
yeah.
fall's a good time.
Well,
to
and
do it.
actually,
So
I'm wondering whether we want to have another safety security.
I saw the police here a few weeks ago and they said that they've increased their presence. I think it's because of,
Yeah.
we had some car situations, but it was,
Jackie,
It's-
would you ask the ILS committee whether they think it would be a good idea to have another safety/security forum like we did last September?
well, what I'd like to do too is have them look at all these goals and
Yeah.
see where they can fit into.
Yeah,
making
for
them
sure.
Okay, good, okay.
You know,
all right.
maybe you can also talk to Campus Commons. They had one not long ago.
Mhm.
And
Well, and that's it. I mean, if, I think what would be very cool is to do a town hall meeting with the Park Core Board and this board. And so maybe we task the ILS with putting that together.
Yeah, that's a great idea. So let's get a hold of the Commons Board like right away.
Mhm.
Not only talk to them about working together, but putting on a forum together.
Right. And if you directors would, I mean, we gotta have like some window of time that we're
Sure,
thinking
yeah.
about. So,
Okay,
so if you're. gonna
let's make that a goal.
Okay, I will email you
okay.
asking you for
All right.
dates.
Communications, I'm guessing this is be a little bit more proactive in letting people know what's going on and stuff.
Right. Well, and one of the questions for communications was, do we want to permit ads? It's something we've never done before, but it would allow us to pay for professional printing so that hard copies could be sent to all the homeowners. So that would be something maybe you want to task your outreach committee
I
with.
thought we were trying to cut back on stuff like sending hard copies.
Well, that's why
out.
this was not a goal I put forward, but it is a goal. The idea behind this suggested goal is that the revenue from the ads would pay for printing and mailing our newsletter to our homeowners.
yeah, we did it over in Village 10. It was kind of nice, if you need a handyman or cleaning person, they had an ad.
who distributed?
I mean, I could,
But
I
it
could
was
see taking the ads, but
volunteers that
I
were-
don't think we need to hard print a copy for everybody. It could still be an email format or on the,
But, I've been saying this for quite some time that we have 7 zones and we could get volunteers,
Yeah.
just like they have over in Campus Commons, to distribute those newsletters.
Could
And
help.
I think it would be a good idea to get the volunteers going and maybe get to know each other a little bit better. I would volunteer. So
Leaders for security.
why don't we try to do that?
that's better than incurring the expense of mailing them out.
I think so too.
Nuts.
So we would have printed hard copies that Marcus would distribute throughout the community.
Right, right. I mean,
Because my niece
Did
is still
did I
good.
hear that? Did I hear that right?
Right.
May I have a motion?
So far, he's
I'll
the
make the motion.
volunteer.
Skip my alley because we have Friday night cocktails. You could come over and deliver them then.
last.
What time does it start?
5:30.
I'll be there.
I mean, you might ask, if the outreach committee wants to do, but I mean, if you're, somebody's got to like,
We have a survey thing now, don't we? Don't we have Survey
Survey
Monkey
Monkey?
now?
yeah,
Outside?
yeah,
Could we
Yep.
do that? See if there's an interest in it or I don't know.
a call for volunteers to deliver the news. I mean,
Or
you
if they
will then
want a
be
hard copy.
printing.
Marcy,
90 color
could,
newsletters.
could we,
I don't
could
thi-
we
I don't
enlist,
think we need
could
to
we
do that.
enlist your
I don't
committee
think that
members?
Any ad revenue is going to cover the cost of that.
Yeah, I mean, That's the question. Is that a goal you want to adopt, looking into changing the,
I
yes,
put
or-
it
Look into it.
bottom, but yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's
So
an
how many-
accessibility issue.
Well, we would have to look into how many pages, like Campus Commons, it's, if I say black and white, it's actually a color and
Yeah,
black.
it's
okay?
color paper, but black
It's-
ink.
Yeah,
and-
every
and
month
that's
it's a
no big
different
deal.
color.
And we can do that.
So I think we could keep it at a minimum that way instead of full color, and try to find out and maybe keep it at I don't know, 2 pages or something like that. I mean, I don't look at me like this.
Well, I'm already I'm already.
I don't
told you
know.
Don't communicate enough, and now I'm gonna do.
Well,
it
you know
all in
what?
2 pages.
Let me do this. I mean, I have those Campus Commons ones at home, okay?
I have them too.
You have them too,
I
okay.
get to
So
comment,
why don't
yeah.
we find out where they do it?
I know how they do it. They
Okay,
they
well-
do get ads, and I believe that each of. Well, no, I don't. I mean, now they
Who's
do.
printing them?
They print them, I think, right there in the clubhouse, like we do, same as we
It's
do.
legal paper, they're usually green.
Yeah,
This is the
green or
commu-
blue.
you're Talking about commutator here?
Yeah.
So we need,
Do they have?
Well, they're 600 homes as well. I mean, we're
so we
like
need
half and half.
volunteers to help
Different
print,
villages.
staple, and distribute.
Well, the copier staples it.
I think you gotta start with the fundamental question. Is there value in a printed copy first? If there is, then what do you, because right now the way it is we do email it, it is on the website, and then homeowners who just call, all you have to do is call, you don't have to prove you have a need, you just call, say, can you please mail it to me? And those ones
I
you do.
think we have learned that just emailing the newsletter is not getting it done.
Okay.
Yeah.
We clearly found when we surveyed folks on the painting, the tremendous response we got. A lot of folks weren't even aware of what we were going to do.
Okay, so we agree, there's value to a printed.
I think so, yeah.
Got it.
Okay.
Online.
Oh, there's a hand up from Will Vizard.
Will?
Yes, a bit of history. We did this for years. We had volunteers, we delivered them, and the amount of feedback wasn't a bit different. People didn't seem to be any more inclined to read those than they were to read the online. So just a bit of history.
You might be
For
right.
years and years, Nepenthe did exactly this. And decided that they'd save the money and make them available by email.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Will. So we're going to do print, right?
Why don't we do that? Why
Well,
don't?
I appreciate
yeah.
what Will had to say, but maybe it's maybe it's a new day.
This is Cheryl, and in my past experience in trying to coordinate communications, I have found that there's a certain number of people who will pay attention no matter how it's delivered. And there's a certain number of people who won't pay attention no matter how it's delivered. And
That's so
I
true.
think that's what Will is saying, that we can make it available, but I would prefer that we look at the economics of what it's costing us to do the alternatives and make a decision based on that rather than whether or not we think people will pay attention.
I agree. I don't know if people will read it or not read it. And if it comes in email, I think that's more economically.
Well, why don't we do this? Marcy, this is right in your committee's bailiwick. Could you do a little bit of sleuthing and researching on the value of continuing having a printed copy and what the benefit of that is as opposed to not having it, or some alternative in the meantime?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good point.
Well, I think we should survey maybe if we can, but I think the idea of having the resources with some ad vendors, you know, people that need help with yard work and that kind of thing, I think we need to give them the opportunity to pay for advertising, maybe.
Okay. So have we made an assignment on that?
I believe you have.
We have. All right. Carry on then. Let's go to financial.
Okay.
So here's the top one, which I mentioned at the beginning of the meeting. We are hopeful to have the budget ready for adoption at the October meeting. This is going to put we as directors on guard that we need to start, or on notice when to start looking at this as soon as Betsy puts the draft together.
Yeah.
And of course, we'll want the finance committee to weigh heavily on this. And I'm also wondering, Susan, are you still on?
No, I don't think
We
she
may
is.
want to think about another budget forum like last year. I think Tara did a great job and it educated a lot of folks on what we're dealing with. And I think we should ask the finance committee if they would like to do that again.
Right. Well, of course, the outreach, one of outreach committee's job is a homeowner education event each year. And I think making a portion of it about where your dues go is like good, because then they get all of it. They get all that information, and maybe that's the way to, you know, unless you really specifically want to like present your draft budget and get specific
Well,
feedback.
last year, a lot of folks either weren't here last year or didn't go to it. She went into a lot of detail.
She did.
Forgot it.
Which you've forgotten. I mean, we could simplify it just explaining where your dues go, but we've got to do something. I'm concerned that when we adopt this budget, we're not going to be happy about it.
Oh, no,
Yeah,
I'm
so
sure.
I think we need to get as much education out there as possible.
Communication.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay. All right. Anything else on financial?
Can you scroll down a little bit more?
It's just a list of all of the contracts and,
Well, don't you think we should have the contracts kind of set in place for next year before we have another budget proposal and presentation from the finance committee?
I'm sorry, start that again.
We kind of need to have our contracts in place for next year.
Absolutely. That's what we have.
So I think we should
That's
really.
what we have to do between now and October.
And I do that anyway as part of the budget process,
Yeah.
is just to make contact with the vendors and see if they're asking for increases for next year. But I think this idea of this goal is like, do you want to go out to bid on any of them, or, you know?
I agree. I think we should. And I think we've got some frivolous expenses. Well, I don't want to say frivolous, but we have a few homeowners that care a lot, for example, about that app. What is it? The Parking Boss? I think is not to open up some of these issues, but I think we kind of have to. I think we have to get some homeowner buy-in on whether or not, oh, I don't like this. I need new plants in front of my house. I think, just tightening up is going to take something from our homeowners as well, that they can't expect to put in some of these requests and have some of these certain things while we're trying to shore things up.
Yeah, well, and that's always the trick, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
what's the service you want and what is the service you're willing to pay for? Yeah, and,
Well, when it
and you guys get the
You
lovely
know,
job
when
of
it
deciding.
comes down to the end here, the end game will be what the new assessment is going to be.
Mhm.
And we may choke on it, or we may try not to. But Marcus is right. There's some big ticket items in there that we need to resolve before we can finalize the budget. So we just need to get to work on that.
So if I'm looking at I know security is not a very big expense, but if we could meet with Campus Commons and maybe do some changes on the security part. Small changes, a couple of small changes would help.
Make a big difference.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Organization.
Yep, those are pretty simple, straightforward, easy to do.
Okay,
And
we
you always
offer-
have the ability
yeah,
to
and then
appoint
we
ad
offer
hoc.
the committees a chance to
Mhm.
speak. Okay. And operations,
Item A, I don't know if that's something,
in a previous life,
Mhm.
in John's previous life, I was assigned by my developer employer to go to County Board of Supervisors meetings every week.
that's fun.
I do not want to ask anybody to do this.
Oh, okay.
This is a killer,
Yeah,
an
Well,
absolute
yeah.
killer.
yeah,
The city council meetings last forever.
Yeah.
There are a lot of things that come up that are just going to put you to sleep.
and they're not going to be relevant.
They're not going to be relevant. So good suggestion. There might be a better way to attack this, but I can tell you from personal experience, I wasted a lot of time and a lot of evenings.
Yeah.
I think we should contact the city.
Is there a possibility that we can request or find a way to get the minutes of the meeting so that they can be reviewed at will?
They're probably online.
They are, yeah, they're online. And I will say that the city does a pretty good job. I mean, usually somebody from the council member's office will, attend these board meetings, and they do want to hear from us. So I think that we have that conduit open, and if we need information or need their input, we can get it pretty
We're
quick.
going to have a new city council. Gara is running for assembly, I think. Assuming he gets elected, we're going to have a
Yeah.
new council member. Have no clue who that might be.
Yep.
Okay.
But I'm sure he'll want your vote, so he'll be happy
Create a
to.
business center in a clubhouse. I know, Ashley, this was,
My outlandish idea.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's probably.
All
not
right.
doable.
yeah, that's going to be a tough one. Yeah. Okay.
So we'll abandon.
To economize.
Okay.
Okay.
Have we scrolled down through this?
Yep, that's the end of the last page of this.
All right,
packet.
Time for the second homeowners forum. I will remind everyone that it's 8:22.
Does anybody have anything left to say?
Anybody wanted to speak? All right. We're adjourned.
Thank you.
Adjourned. Okay. Whew. Thank you, everybody on Zoom. I'm going to end the meeting.
Excellent.
Jeez.
Thank you, Betsy.
To the people
Thank
we had
you.
to be here, but- Okay. Well, good. Good. I think it's time to go home and have a